Hey guys, what's going on? Druzy here, back with another YouTube episode for 2019. So happy New Year's to everyone, as it's the first episode of 2019 that we're going to be doing here today. It's not necessarily a gameplay video, as discussed in some comments that I made on YouTube in the community section. I had mentioned that I was wanting to do a Q&A episode to kick off 2019, where you guys got to ask questions about me or about myself, my life, whatever you wanted, or about Phone Destroyer, other content, whatever it wanted to be, and then I would answer those questions for you. So I got 13 questions. We're going to go through here real quick one by one and talk about each of them, and I'll answer those questions for you guys. Some of you may choose to try to add more questions down below in the comment section, and if you want to, go ahead. I may or may not answer them down there, or may wait and hold on to them for the next time that I do this. I may try to do this as an annual thing once a year, or maybe a twice a year thing. I don't know, maybe every so often. Just let me know down below what you guys think. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and as always, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content. Maybe not necessarily like this one, but more content from me directly. So first question we're going to get to comes from Nasty Chicken Foot. How old and how tall are you? So how old I am? I'm 32 years old. I'm 5 feet 10 inches tall, so 32, 5 feet 10 is my age and my height. Our next question here comes from Casey Hood. How does it feel being the #1 content creator for Phone Destroyer? Okay, first off, I'm just going to answer that, Casey. I am not the #1 content creator for Phone Destroyer. There are a lot of great content creators for this game. Just to name a few: Pharaoh TV, Haze Demon, Blig420, myself. I've seen Chauncey is doing content for South Park Phone Destroyer. There are tons of people. It's not just me, and there are even more beyond that than just the ones I mentioned. Those are just ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now. But there are tons of people with great content. There are even high elite level people like SDNW, like R Coffin, people like that that are playing at the high echelon of PvP. You also have Twitch streamers that do a fantastic job. People like Glanzer, people like Roman's Edge, people like FMeister94, even though FMeister doesn't get enough love. You've got people like Dog's Crucifix does a great job, and even Vegeta has been doing some streaming on Twitch as well. So there are tons of content creators for this game, and there are a ton more than the ones that I just mentioned. But those are just the ones off the top of my head that I can think of. I don't view myself as the #1 content creator for Phone Destroyer. That's never been my goal within this game, or I don't want to be the #1 content creator within YouTube, in all honesty. My only goal with YouTube is to be able to create the best content out there and to have fun making the content that I make. And as long as I have those two things going for me, I'm going to continue to make content for whatever game I choose to make going forward in the future. I've enjoyed a lot of success with South Park Phone Destroyer. That's been my main go-to focus within this channel, because it's been the one that has been the most popular by my fans and by you guys that watch my content on a regular basis. So that's the content that I've tried to focus on and will continue to try to focus on unless the game falls off and dies off a cliff, which is actually a question we'll get to later. And yeah, how old are you? That's a good question too, which I just answered, of course, for you, Casey. But no, I don't view myself as a top content creator. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out. Question 3 comes in from Jose Gomez, who asked 3 different questions apparently. When and where did you and your fiance meet? So where I met my fiance actually was at our job at the time. We don't work there anymore, but we worked at a place called Behavioral Health Group, which is a methadone facility, and that's where we met. I was a counselor there, and she was the receptionist there at the time. So that's how we actually met, was at work. We worked together about 7 months before we started dating. We've been dating, it'll be 3 years actually, starting on January 3rd. So here in just 2 days, which is actually when I start my new job. But in 3 days will be, or 2 days will be our 3-year anniversary together as a couple and whatnot. So that's going to be really, really cool. We're both very excited about that and hope for many, many happy years to go. But that's where I met her. What made you upload content for South Park Phone Destroyer? Ironically, it was my fiance that got me to start making content for South Park Phone Destroyer. She and I both got into the game day of launch, which was November 8th or November 9th, now I can't remember, of 2017, which is when the game actually launched. We were both playing it, and I'd played for about 2 to 3 hours even at work, and she had sent me a text message saying, God, Drew, it'd be really awesome if you could make some content on your YouTube channel to help me be better at this game, because I'm really struggling with this game in the early process. And I felt like that was a good opportunity because the game was new and fresh. I didn't see a ton of creators. There's only about a handful of creators that were out there before Phone Destroyer launched, because it had that soft launch in Europe. So only European content creators were able to play it in the beta phase and make content for it. And so I jumped on that I jumped on that to try to get some content out there for this game, and luckily my channel blew up after the second video I made for South Park Phone Destroyer, which was, I think, 7 cards you need to have to be successful within the game. That blew up. I got so many views to where it was not even comparable to any other thing, and I decided to fully focus on Phone Destroyer going forward because that was where my channel was really growing. I had a ton of subscribers added. I had a ton of views going into those videos, specifically more than any of my Xbox related content, because I actually started on YouTube making Xbox videos because that was the console and the utility that I used the most. I still play on Xbox quite a bit as well as on mobile now, but mostly I was playing a ton of Xbox content, so I figured I'd just make content based on stuff I knew and understood, but it wasn't giving me a lot of views, wasn't giving me a lot of popularity. But South Park Phone Destroyer really blew up very fast for me, so that's why I stuck with it for so long. And that's actually why I uploaded content the first time and kept going beyond that. But it was my fiance that actually was the reason for me making this content for you guys, and why so many of you have joined my channel. If you reach max level in South Park Phone Destroyer, what will you do? So max level is currently 25 as I'm making this video. That doesn't mean that you have all the cards to max level to get to 25. You can get to level 25 without max leveled cards. There are only, I think, 2 or 3 people right now in the world that are level 25, and I could be wrong, but I know at least 2 are for sure. If I reach max level, I'll still probably make content for this game. It'll be a long time coming. It'll be a couple more years before I get to 25, I think, realistically, because I really don't spend quite as much money as you guys think that I do. I do spend money within this game. I'm not going to say I don't, but I really don't spend as much as as people make it out that I do. So it's going to take a while for me to get to 25 because I really don't spend a crap ton of money, in all honesty. Our next question comes from DogHunter92. Why did you start making South Park content? Which I kind of answered, but I did want to answer this next part, and not Fortnite or some popular games like that. Well, number one reason why I don't make Fortnite content is because A, it's a saturated market now because everybody's doing it, and number 2, I don't like the game. I really don't think Fortnite is a great game in my opinion, and that's my opinion. There are millions of people that would argue with me because it is a very popular game right now, especially for streamers and YouTube. Some YouTube creators do make Fortnite content religiously. I mean, look at Cobe's Mind, guys. He left South Park to make Fortnite content and is making a killing off of it, but I don't like the game. So that's why I don't make Fortnite content. I'm not going to force myself to make content for something I don't enjoy to play. Now, there are times where I don't enjoy playing South Park Phone Destroyer. I get frustrated even on streams. I try not to. I'm doing the best I can to hold back my anger or frustration, but I'm a very competitive person, and there comes a time where if you go through a long lose streak in something, doesn't matter what game it is, it can get frustrating, and it gets to me sometimes. But I started making South Park Phone Destroyer content again because of my fiance asked me to, and because then it got popular on my channel. I started growing a lot of different new viewers, new subscribers, things like that, so then I kept with it. But I don't make Fortnite content because I don't like Fortnite. If there were other popular games, maybe I'd throw that in. I feel like Brawl Stars is kind of that popular game right now, to where a lot of content creators are pouring in their effort into Brawl Stars because it's a very popular mobile game currently. I think I will try to dabble in games that, again, I enjoy, not necessarily ones that are just going to propel me to thousands upon thousands of views. If that happens, great, but that's not really my main focus here. Again, solid content is my main focus, with stuff that I enjoy actually playing and that I think you guys will get a kick out of too. I am going to be adding at least one new game here in the coming month. That's another mobile game as well, which I'll make some content for that hopefully sometime later this week. Okay, the next 2 questions, guys, I put on screen at the same time because both Impartial Gamer and Lucy kind of asked the same question. What were your job ideas when you got your diploma, is what Impartial Gamer was asking. And then Lucy's asking, it's a little random, do I have a degree? So yes, I do have a degree. It is in psychology with an emphasis in substance abuse counseling. So when I got my degree, a 4-year degree in psychology, I went, of course, for the substance abuse counseling, which means the only thing I can really do with that degree is substance abuse counseling necessarily. So that's what I did. I was a substance abuse counselor for 8 years prior to losing my job recently. And then since losing my job, I've now started, or will be starting a new job in 2 days from now, on the anniversary of my 3-year anniversary with my fiance. That is going to be at Bayer, where I'm going to start working for them in their lab department and their agricultural department, which I'm pretty excited about, which actually doesn't go along with my diploma. It's just, you apparently just need a college degree and some good referrals, and then you can work there. So I'm going to be working there, but that's essentially my job idea. When I got my diploma, that was all I could really do, was be a substance abuse counselor. I lucked out with the position that I got, worked there 8 years. It was rewarding, difficult, not ideal, and then I'm kind of glad it ended the way it did. I didn't really want to get fired necessarily, but I was tired of being stuck in that job, and I felt like I was stuck in the job. So I felt like the only way that I was going to get out of it was to be forced out, and I ended up getting forced out, unfortunately, for a reason that I don't feel needs to be discussed. And when I got forced out, I think it was actually a positive more so than a negative. So I'm excited about this new opportunity, this new job that's going to be starting soon. I can make a lot more money than what I was making, because you don't make a lot of money being a substance abuse counselor. Anyone thinks that, you're just kind of naive. So I'm going to be making $5 more an hour at my new job than what I was making. So that's a huge boost to me, my fiance, and our future life together that we want to start. We want to move in together. We want to start work towards getting married, because we are not married yet, obviously. So those are some things that I want to work on towards in the future, as well as hopefully continue to grow this channel, because I really enjoy making content here, even though I haven't been as productive the last few weeks. But I'm going to try to up the content again here going forward. And do you work in something else besides YouTube? So yes, Lucy, YouTube content creators do not make as much money as you think they do, trust me. So I don't make much money on YouTube. In reality, I make a little less than $100 a month. That is all I currently make on this platform. So I need to have a job to sustain a living. I think that some people just assume that YouTube, you just rake it in, rake it in, rake it in. Twitch streamers don't make a ton of money either. They have the opportunity to make a decent amount of money, but they really don't make gobs and gobs of money all the time very easily. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of hard work to get to that point. It's going to take a long time for me, and it may never happen to where I could be sustainable without having to work just solely off YouTube content creation and donations, whatever, what have you. So it's going to be a while before that ever happens. It could take years from now. Even if it never happens, I don't really care that much. If it does, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I need to have another job to sustain and to be able to live the lifestyle that I would love to live with my fiance. So no, I have to have another job. YouTube cannot sustain me. It can't sustain hardly anybody. It takes a lot of work to get to that point, and I'm not there yet. Maybe I will be someday, but not quite yet. Next question comes from Cold Slime YT. Druzy, what was the best moment of your life except your wedding? Well, number one, Cold, not married yet, so that hasn't happened yet. But I think my best moment in life actually was, I used to be a cross-country and track runner when I was in high school and college, but in high school, my junior year, we were trying to win league, and I had to run a 2-mile, and before the 2-mile race started, I was told by my coach that I had to finish at least in the top 3 for us to have a chance to win league. And our 4x4 team, which was the last race in that team event, was going to win, and they ended up winning. So I had to finish top 3, and I'd only run the 2-mile twice before that race started. And there was somebody in that race that was significantly better than myself. And yes, he did beat me. I didn't get first. So this isn't one of those, ultimate, stories that's going to be made into a Hollywood movie where, I triumphed over evil and end up winning the whole race. So no, I didn't win the race, in case that's something that you guys are going to wonder. I got second in that race, but the fact that during that race, that is the only time in my running career, and I ran for 8 years, where I had no pain throughout the course of the entire race. I had no pain, no leg pain. In fact, I could barely even feel my legs. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had. It was almost like being that kind of, I don't really know how to explain it. I don't know if any other runners know what I'm talking about, but you kind of get in the zone, essentially. But I was in the zone, in a running zone. I don't know what that would entail necessarily. But again, I didn't have any trouble breathing hard. I could run. I felt like I could run. Like I kept getting worried that it was going to catch up to me. Eventually, I was going to, lose my stamina, or I was going to start having pain somewhere, and I was going to start doing bad in that race. I ended up running the best time that I've ever run in the 2-mile, which was a 9-minute and 41-second 2-mile. For those of you that are also going to wonder that, I ran that in that race, and I ended up getting second place. Like I said, I lost to the first place guy by only 4 seconds, and but it was just that experience of complete and utter, like I felt like nothing could happen, bad could have happened to me in that moment. It was a really good experience. We were able to win league, like I said, which was awesome, because that was the one thing that my coach wanted more than anything. That was my first year of competitive running too. So it was just all in all a great experience, probably the best experience I've ever had. I've had lots of other sports experiences over the course of my life, but I don't think any come to that. And until my wedding or the birth of my kids, I don't think anything's going to top that moment right now for me. Next question here is from Mysterion 12983. If you can make a deck with any of the cards in SPD without the restrictions of just 2 themes to choose from, which cards would you choose? So, if I could have a deck with any cards in the game, I'd probably use all my favorite cards within the game. I feel like the Osimo 4000 would be my tank. I'd have Cupid Cartman. I'd have probably the Amazingly Randy as my range units. I'd have Stand of Many Moons in there. I'd have Witch Doctor Token in there. I'd probably have some kind of cancellation card of some kind. I would assume I would have Unholy Combustion because it's probably the better of all the cancel cards right now. Gosh, that's a really weird question. I don't think I've ever answered that before. I definitely wouldn't have Hokan Clyde. I don't know. It's really tough. I feel like I just have a ton of legendaries, probably Mecha Timmy in there, even though it's a lot of range units. I don't know, just all the, I mean, assuming that I have within the card levels that I currently possess, but I mean, I hope at some point South Park Phone Destroyer does some kind of challenge mode or something where you can have all the cards within the game accessible to you. I think that would be really fun to see some of these decks that people would build, and if I had the opportunity to do that, I would build a wacky deck specifically for this Question Mysterion, and I would do it, and I'd play it in challenge mode, and I don't even care if I don't get 12 wins with it. I would figure out a way to do it. I'd probably even throw Imp Tweak in there, guys, because I really enjoy his mechanic, even though I'm one of the few people that really seem to like him. I feel like Mystical would definitely be in there. It's the strongest theme in the game, but you definitely would have to have Stand of Many Moons. He's the best legendary card in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I think Santa might be in there at some point, something like that, but there's a lot of flexibility with this kind of thing that I would do. I don't think I got all 12 cards that I would put in there, but I think you guys got a decent idea if you watch my channel enough to know kind of most of the cards that I really enjoy playing and what I would kind of put in there. And don't worry, no Dougies would be in that deck. Impartial Gamer coming in with another question. What is the worst card in all the rarities for you? So the worst card, probably the worst common card in the game right now is probably Shaman Token. You just don't see Shaman Token used much anymore. The worst rare card, now there's 2 that really stick out, but the worst rare card in the game to me is Warboy Tweak. He's terrible. He's god-awful. He needs to be fixed. The worst epic card in the game. That's a difficult one. I'd probably say Gizmo Ike. He just doesn't have enough health. He doesn't survive very well. He's very easy to kill. I feel like, I'm not saying he's the absolute worst, but I feel like he definitely needs a buff of some kind to be more viable, to be more usable, potentially grand scheme. And then the worst legendary card is Ink and Craig, in my opinion. So that would be those 4 for that. Moving on to Lettuce Killer. Do you think Phone Destroyer will ever get stale or die? Also, what are your thoughts on Badland Brawl? Will you play more? To answer the Badland Brawl question, I haven't played a lot of Badland Brawl it's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know if I'll return to that game. It's going to take some tweaking because that game, it feels like it's a very high pay-to-win ceiling in that game, and I didn't have as much enjoyment with it as I thought I was going to initially. But I may get back to Badland Brawl at some point. As of right now, no is the answer to that question. And do I think Phone Destroyer will ever get stale and die? I feel like all games, no matter what they are, eventually get to a point where they kind of fall off. Whether or not they basically are fads for some point. I feel like at some point Fortnite will die. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I feel like I don't think it's going to be in the near future, maybe. But I feel like a couple years from now, maybe, there'll be some new thing that will just trump Fortnite. And we'll have to either catch on to it or just, try to stick to old things. I think that eventually, the times have changed, dramatically in the way that the gaming structure has gone on. I think Phone Destroyer, if Red Links keeps going in a direction that's more of a pay-to-win focus, I feel like a lot of the main core group of people that play this game, which are free-to-play players, and I understand that, they will start leaving. I mean, you already have some of the elite paying players are starting to leave. People like Papa Roscoe. I think a few other main top players have just kind of quit on the game. They're tired of it. They don't want to spend as much money as it requires to be competitive within this game. And eventually, if you get to that point with your model, then people are going to start leaving it. And if the core group of people, some content creators have already left, but I feel like if too many people start backing out, Red Links is either going to have to drastically change the way that they go with their model with this game, or who knows. I'm hoping that server-side PvP helps in restructuring this game. There's a lot of changes that need to still be made that can improve this game and make it better. The addition of Team Wars is exciting, but we've been excited for updates before, and they've just kind of somewhat disappointed us, I think, in a way, at least myself, maybe to some degree. That you hear of these balance changes or hear of these, the BFU, I thought was going to be groundbreaking and change the game dramatically, and I feel like it did very briefly, and then it kind of fizzled away very quickly as far as the relevance of that change was made to this game. I feel like, Red Links is just going to have to really ramp it up on different fronts, listen to their player base, and really make decisions based on what the people want. If they focus too much on how line their pockets are with money, and I'm not saying just necessarily Red Links, but Ubisoft in general, then this game could die very quickly, and I would hate to see that happen because it has a great fan base. There are still a ton of great people within this community that love this game, including myself, and I'd love to see this game continue to grow, hopefully get to an EU platform at some point, or an esports platform at some point, or something like that. It will take some time if that were to ever happen, but I would love to see that at some point. I would be all for that. Not that I would ever compete in it because I'm not good, but I'd love to commentate it if it ever came to an esports platform. But, I would love to see this game continue to grow. I think that would be awesome, and I hope it happens. But yes, this game very well could die and become stale, but that's well up to Red Links and Ubisoft for that to actually happen. Next question, who is your least favorite brawler in Brawl Stars? My least favorite brawler? Probably Shelly, the first one. I feel like Shelly was fun at first, and then she got really boring really fast. Poco is my favorite character in Brawl Stars right now. He's not the best, but he's my favorite and probably my go-to. I really didn't like Barley at first. Barley's starting to grow on me a little bit. I've still got a long ways to go in Brawl Stars. I haven't unlocked all the characters yet. I don't think I have any epic brawlers. I have no of the legendary brawlers yet, and so yeah, I've still got quite a few ways to go in collecting different brawlers within this game. So I can't really answer that question as far as my least favorite. But probably Shelly is my least favorite. I don't really enjoy playing her. I don't really play her anymore. I played her at the very beginning, of course, because you're kind of forced to when you start learning that game. But then after that, I probably won't play her much anymore. Next question comes from Eric. What is your favorite episode from South Park Season 22? So from this last season, what was my favorite episode? I'd have to say the two-part that ended it. I feel like that was actually pretty funny. The whole Satan Man-Bear Pig back and forth. That Man-Bear Pig was actually real. That Man-Bear Pig with the whole... I think probably the last episode was the best. Talking about, just seeing Man-Bear Pig in a suit was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in South Park for quite a while. It's just been... That was a great ending. I feel like Season 22 really revamped the show, in my opinion. I felt like the show, the last couple seasons before 20 and 21, were not very good. I really didn't like them much at all. So I feel like this season was really a nice push forward, in my opinion, just with some of the ongoing jokes really being funny. But one thing that I will repeat that Abiogenesis has also stated multiple times, what happened to Canada? We nuked it, and now we don't know anything. We need an answer for what happened to Canada. So Matt and Trey, we better get that in 23. I want to know what happened to Canada. A lot of us want to know. Not just myself and Abio. I'm sure a lot of South Park fans. What the heck happened to goddamn Canada? We don't even know. They nuked them. Then we haven't even gone back to that question again. Bring that back. We need answers. This question comes from Gavino, I believe. What is your favorite South Park season? It might be... Now, there's a toss-up. I love Season 8. I love Season 11. I think Season 11 is the one with the ring that starts, because that's a great season. There's like 4 or 5 seasons that are just, in my opinion, bar none better than all the other ones. But probably Season 8, because it's my favorite episode of all time, isn't it, with Good Times with Weapons. That's my favorite episode, South Park episode. So I'd have to say Season 8 is probably my favorite season. Next question, what is the worst South Park episode for you? All of them that had Skank Hunt in it. All of those. Every single one of them. They were all terrible. I didn't like any of them. The only part I think that's the same season where Randy was Lord, or Randy was Lord the season before that. That season was fine, because the Lord joke was funny. But the Skank Hunt one with Kyle's dad, with Mr. Broflowski being Skank Hunt, was terrible. I hated that season with a high fire rate passion, and then you just slowly have Garrison become Donald Trump, was kind of funny. That one wasn't so bad. Like in the beginning with Caitlyn Jenner being his vice president, and him saying F them all to death and all that stuff. That was kind of funny. And then you had the Canadian Prime Minister they jokingly made to look like Donald Trump too, and that was okay. But the skank hunt stuff was all dumb. I hated all of it, in my opinion, and I hope they never go back to that. I hope that that's just a dark page from South Park history that just never gets repeated or brought back up for Matt and Trey. I hope they just wipe that under the rug and never touch it again. I didn't like it. Some people did. I didn't. So that was probably the worst for me. A lot of those episodes in that season that had the skank hunt stuff, all of them were just not good to me. So my fiance and I both didn't like didn't like those episodes. We do not watch that season in this house for that reason. And our last question comes from Gavino again. What South Park episode do you like but everyone else hates? I don't know that. I guess my fiance really doesn't like the Coon episodes, and she doesn't like the Imagination Land episodes. Now, why she doesn't like the Imagination Land episodes, I don't have any idea, because those are phenomenal. But as far as I don't know. That's a great question. I love so many episodes that I really don't know. What ones people don't like. So I don't know if I can really answer that one, Gavino. I'd really have to ponder that one and really investigate, because again, it's just a matter of opinion. My favorite episode is Good Times with Weapons. I'm sure there's people that don't like that, didn't like that episode. I don't know why you wouldn't. That episode's a classic. I think a lot of the first couple of seasons, a lot of people didn't really like some of those episodes just because the show wasn't of the highest quality yet until Matt and Trey got the funding from Comedy Central and whatnot, and the show kind of took off. So I think like the first couple of seasons, there's a couple in there that I guess I will tell you the first episode I ever watched of South Park was the chickenpox episode. I think that's in season 5, if I'm not mistaken. Season 4, season 5, somewhere in there. And that was the first episode I ever watched. And I didn't watch it live necessarily, like it wasn't like brand new. I watched it like years, probably a couple of years after that episode would have aired. Because I think I actually really started watching the show around the time season 10 was going on. And I watched an episode the first time, and I didn't really like it that much. I thought the show was really dark and just really demented and messed up. And I was like, man, how do people like this show? And then a friend of mine showed me a couple more episodes, and he goes, I got a couple for you that I really think you'll like, and it'll turn your thought process around on the show. And they were from season 8, actually. And it did turn me around. I didn't watch Good Times with Weapons right away then. That was a little later. But it did, of course, ended up making me like South Park, and then I started watching all of it. And I specifically have Hulu in the United States, specifically for South Park. That's the only reason why I have Hulu, and that's why probably a lot of us do. Just solely to watch South Park as much as I want to. And that was the first South Park episode I watched, but I don't know if there's one necessarily that I like that everyone hates. I've started to grow and like the chickenpox episode more and more now. One that maybe some people don't like that I really liked was the toilet paper episode. If you haven't seen that one, it's actually really funny. I really like the part with Cartman on the boat in the lake. That's probably my favorite part of the entire episode, but it's probably not a huge favorite, but that one's kind of funny. I love the preschool episode's kind of a dark one. Scott Tenorman Must Die is a great one, even though that's a little dark. But I mean, South Park is dark. That's part of the whole, synopsis of the show, right? Is to push the boundaries and that kind of stuff. So I don't really know if I have the best answer for that, but at least throughout a couple episodes that I enjoy. Maybe that give you an idea there, Gavino. But thank you guys so much for all the questions that you had in today's episode. Again, if you want to leave some questions down below in the comment section, feel free. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to answer them in this episode specifically or in very soon future. It may be a while before I answer them. But, I may try to do this once a year, every New Year's. Going forward on the channel, do a Q&A kind of thing. Or if you guys would like to have it more often, let me know down in the comments section. And I'll see what I can do. If it's, if I get a lot of votes or a lot of likes to someone comment and say, hey, do it every couple of months or something like that or whatever. And maybe I'll do it then. But who knows? You can only ask so many questions until you know too much about me and then I'm just boring, right? So, but thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back with South Park Phone Destroyer content, of course, here going forward, and then I will add some more mobile games and maybe some Xbox, maybe some Nintendo Switch games. Who knows? Going forward here on the channel, as I have lots of different avenues I could go into. But thank you guys again for watching. I wish all of you again a happy New Year's, and hope that 2019 is as great for you as I hope it is for myself. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, my name is Druzy.